So emulation's nothing new. These little handhelds have been around for ages, but these two need to be spoken about. Everyone, welcome back to another little versus video. We are comparing the Miyoo Mini versus the Analogue Pocket. Is this system good? What are the variations between the two, and which one should you buy? And again, I've invited a friend onto the channel, which is Kitsune Bites. Welcome in.
Hey buddy, what's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I want to talk about these systems, so let's get into it. Okay, so the Miyoo Mini and the Analogue Pocket are two different beasts, but are also kind of the same. In this video, I want to explore what the two different systems offer. What are the pros? What are the cons? Let's look into it. So first thing I want to talk about over here is price. The Miyoo Mini is actually quite a relatively cheap handheld console. And the Analogue Pocket is more your higher end tier sort of market.
All right, yeah, man. So the Analogue Pocket, we all know is and I'm gonna hold it up here for you, is a pretty sought after little piece of tech, man. It's not as affordable or readily available as the Miyoo Mini Plus. But I will say, man, for $200, you get a system that can not only play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, Game Gear, and I want to say PC Engine, and I think there's another one I'm missing here. But the thing's a powerhouse, and while yeah, it costs a lot, and it's not. The availability is not really there as of yet. I do know that they did have a restock, but I don't see that sticking around anytime soon. It is a very solid handheld, and dare I say, the best handheld out of this comparison.
Well, that's one of the things about this comparison is you're looking at a system that is nearly 3 times the price of the Miyoo Mini. So there are going to be some upsides and some downsides to this comparison. The Miyoo Mini is able to play a lot of the systems that are, you know, mentioned within the Analogue Pocket. So that is kind of a factor for me that I find quite difficult sort of justifying the price for. One of the things that I do like about the Analogue Pocket, though, is you can play your physical media on it. You can actually plug in your actual cartridges, which is, I don't know, there is something special about that.
It is. It's very nice to be able to just take Pokemon Blue here, slide it in the back, and you're good to go. You can play your original save if you really want to. Towards the Miyoo Mini, it's you gotta find a ROM, or if you're fortunate enough to have a Burn Master or any kind of ROM flasher, stick the ROM on a cartridge and you're good to go. But again, that's extra stuff you need. If we're looking at just what you have right out of the box, man, you can't go wrong with this. If you're an avid collector like myself and you as well. But man, I'll tell you what though, the one thing that the Mini's lacking is FPGA, man. All the Analogue products have FPGA, and that stuff's pretty legit, and probably the most accurate you're gonna get for emulating.
That is absolutely correct. The accuracy on the Analogue Pocket is next to none. I mean, this thing looks amazing. What I will say though is the Analogue Pocket may not be the most accurate when it comes to emulating games, but that little screen does make it look beautiful. And that is something that kind of goes in its favor. Is the small little 3.5-inch display does put out a really crisp image as well. So again, it's sort of potatoes. There's pros and cons to both. But for me, it's still kind of, I don't know about you, but I'm still kind of leaning towards the Miyoo, just purely for the fact that you can take it on the go, you can put all your ROMs on it, whereas with the Analogue Pocket, you kind of have to take your physical media with it.
Well, it's funny you say that because you can mod these. The OS is now moddable to where you can put ROMs on it of various systems up to some PS1 games, and I say some because if you look here, there's only one shoulder button per side, whereas the Mini has R1, R2, L1, L2. That's the only limitation that they have as of right now for PlayStation. But I'll tell you, man, you can just about play everything that the Mini can, and you can make some beats on it too if you want, or showcase your Game Boy game if you have anything in development.
That is another little thing that you can mess about with, is the fact that you can make games on this and you can make music on it. So that is that, you know, if that's something that you're into and something that you want to try and get into, that is where this system does shine. However, the Miyoo Mini does have a program where you can tune in music. You can make a little bit of music on it. So it's another ROM that you have to put on there, but it is doable. So if that's something that you do want to look at and you're sort of looking at the price point going, I can't afford an Analogue Pocket, that is a way of getting around it. One of the other really big things that I love about the Miyoo Mini is the fact that you are able to watch movies on it. I mean, unless you're watching the Game Boy Advance sort of movies on the Analogue Pocket, you can't really watch movies on that thing. And movies look crisp on this Miyoo Mini. That is one of the really big selling factors. Not only that, you can put hundreds, if not thousands of songs, depending on your memory card slot. You could put loads and loads of music on there too, so you can have a full library of music, movies, as well as video games. So this is kind of an all-in-one system.
So on the Analogue Pocket, right out of the box, you aren't able to put ROMs on here. However, you can modify the OS to run ROMs, and the drawback with that is you kind of have to have a little bit of knowledge on how to do it. There are tutorials out there that are easy to follow. However, you kind of have to know, you know, you have to find BIOS, know where to put those BIOS folders towards, I believe, isn't it the Miyoo kind of simplifies that for you a bit?
Yeah, so the Miyoo Mini comes pretty much ready to go out of the box. Straight away experience exactly what you want out of the system. It's only later on if you really want to improve that overall experience, and that depends on how much you'll actually play the system. So with the original Miyoo stock firmware, it will play ROMs, and there are a ton of ROMs on there straight out of the get-go. However, if you want a better experience, if you want better cores, as they're known in RetroArch, if you want to actually improve that experience, maybe the game may be stuttering, or you have audio glitches, or some sort of issue like that, which are only in a few games, some of the more harder to emulate games, then you can put the custom firmware onto the system. There is a custom firmware out there called Onion OS, and that is the one that I put on my Miyoo Mini, and I have absolutely no complaints. It just opens that world up. Again, it also opens up the fact you're able to use Wi-Fi to be able to play with your friends and do ad hoc Pokemon stuff on there, which again is a bit of a game changer.
You can play Pokemon games in trade and battle. However, the only way you're doing that is if you have an OG, and I'm hoping it comes through an OG link cable. And that's kind of, you know, how many people have that on the ready? I mean, I know people that just collect consoles and they don't have the old, you know, worm lights or link cables and what have you, you know? Yeah, so of course you can watch your movies and stuff on the GBA, and that's kind of the one drawback to the Pocket. If you really want to watch movies or listen to music, you're kind of limited to the GBA video carts, and we all remember how terrible those were. But you know, I do say, man, for the average user, the Miyoo Mini is just fine. But if you're an avid collector and you want to be able to play your stuff on as close to original hardware without really getting too crazy with your console from, you know, 1990, go with the Analogue Pocket. While they both have their strengths and weaknesses, I mean, you see mine. I have lime buttons on mine. You know, I know you've modded your Miyoo all to, you know, to the nines, man. So like, it's, I mean, what do we say here? Who is there a true winner at this?
Well, that's the thing. It really is dependent on you as a person. It depends on your budget. It depends on what you're looking for within the system. I think there is no clear winner, because ultimately what you want will determine which system you should go for. These are both absolutely amazing systems, and they both have their good points and they both have their bad points. So yeah, no, I don't really think there is a winner, but I just wanted to highlight in this video the pros and cons for both of these systems, because they are both absolutely amazing systems to be checking out and playing on. So there we have it, the Miyoo Mini and the Analogue Pocket. Which one do you think is better? Let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I want to thank KB for coming onto the channel. So we'll catch you next time.